So now that we have our border created, we may want to add some text to this so that we can give our image a title. So I'm going to just dock my layers back over here for a second. Put them back in the dock over here and move layers over. So we're going to add some text in here to give our image a name. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and click on the word or the button for text. It's the horizontal type tool. When I click on the type, okay, up at the top, we have our options, and so I can basically pick our font that we want to use, okay, whether or not it's bold, italic, and so on and so forth, how large it is in point size, whether or not it's sharp, crisp, strong, or smooth, okay, whether or not it's left justified, centered, or right justified, the color of it. We can do some special effects on it, which is creating warped text, and properties for the text. Okay, so to start off simply, I'm going to basically drop this down, and for me, I can't really see good previews on here, so I really don't like that. So I want to show you guys how to get a better preview for your font sizes. So we're going to come up here to type, okay, and under the type menu, we're going to come down here to font preview size. I like to set mine to huge because my eyes are getting kind of old. So I want my images of my previews of my fonts to be a little bit larger. So now that I set that to huge, when I come up here, I get a nice huge sample so that I can get a good idea of what I'm using for a font. Okay, so maybe I'm going to use this font right here or something else. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We'll just pick this one. And basically I'm going to click inside my image where I want to place my text. Don't worry about where you position it because you can always move it whenever. And the nice thing about text is you don't have to create a layer for the text. It will automatically create it when you click in your image. So I'm going to click down here in the grass area, okay? And when I do, notice it creates that layer for me. And right now my font size is really small. It's at 12 points and we can barely see it. So if I started typing in something, I could type in the word, let's just use castle bench. Okay. And once you type in text, okay, you're going to accept it up here by clicking the checkbox, okay, or the commit changes, okay. So it just created that text down there, but it's so small I can't even see it. If I zoom up to it, let's look. There it is. Boy, it's pixelated and everything, so I really can't see it. So you can see that 12 point in this case isn't really going to work. So I could show you how to change that, but we want to keep things simple right now. So I'm going to just drag and drop castle bench down into the trash can and do it again. So we're going to just drag and drop that down, put it in the trash can. And I'll come up to the text tool again, and this time I'll drop this down, and I'm going to pick the largest one, like 72 points. So I'll pick down here again, and now I can see my line here. It's barely kind of visible, but I can type in the word castle bench, okay? And I can commit those changes. Okay, so once I have that in there, it's still not big enough for what I want it for. So I'm going to come up here to the move tool. When I do, make sure that the show transform controls are on, and just like an image, I can move this around by clicking on it. But notice it has grips as well, so I can click on one of these grips and I can stretch this out. And again, if I hold down the shift key, it will transform it proportionally. If I don't want it proportional, I can stretch it out and kind of make it my own kind of. The nice thing about text is you can stretch it out and it doesn't look funny. It's either really narrow or really wide looking. So anyway, depending on how you want it to look, okay. Once I accept it, I can come up here and commit the changes, okay. And now that I'm looking at it, I really don't like the font. I just don't like the way that looks. So I want to be able to change that a little bit. So in order to change it, I'm going to basically come over here to my layers, and where you see the capital T here, which indicates a text layer, I'm just going to double click on that with my left mouse button, and it will highlight this, okay, so that it's now selected, and I'll come up here and change the font to something else. So you can see as I'm changing it, it's changing. Okay, so I'll do this Bookman old style, and you can see how it's off my screen, so I can use the move tool again. I can move it where I want it to be. I can, stretch it out again, so we can kind of put that down in here like this. All right, and I'll just kind of put it down here in the corner like that. Okay, so now that I have my text in there, you can see that text is located in the bottom left hand corner. And again, just like our frame, we can add special effects to this as well. So if you wanted to, you could use special effects. You could try a bevel and emboss on that and make the text look a little bit like 3D. Let's try emboss, and then I'll change the size of the embossing. Okay, I can change the depth of the embossing. Okay, so you can kind of, looks like the text is almost raised. I can change the color overlay on that. Okay, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to have special effects on it, but I'm just showing you that text can be just as fun as a frame or an image. Also, we can do things like warp the text. So maybe you want the text kind of going around that curve of the grass right here. So again, to access this text again, we're going to just double click on the capital T, and it highlights it. We're going to come up here to the options of the text where it has the warp tool, and when I do this, I can pick a predefined warping, so I can do like arc, and you can see how it arcs the text like this now, and I have the option to arc it the opposite way, so I can kind of do something like that. Okay, once I have it kind of warped a little bit, I can kind of position that up like this, and it doesn't really kind of flow exactly the way I kind of envisioned it, but we can kind of do this sort of thing again, and we can kind of bend it a little bit. We can change the horizontal distortion of it, so we can kind of do something like that. We can change the vertical distortion of it. Okay, so something like that. You can really have some fun with this and play with it. You can change, to flag or wave, fisheye, okay, and all these will change. Okay, so anyway, we'll kind of leave it alone, hit OK, and get out of here. So I'll commit the changes, and there we go. So we have Castle Bench. All right. So for the next part of this, we're going to set it up so that all 4 images will have their own borders and their own text, and I'll show you how to do that next.